If you're looking for ways to boost your family's health and longevity, today we're delving into Dr. Michael Greger's How Not to Age. And we're going to uncover some practical tips for parents aiming to create a healthier home. If you don't want to read this really long book, but you want the simple tips, this episode is for you. Stay tuned. Hey parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self-care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back, my friends, to episode number 148, Stay Young Together, Family Health Insights from How Not to Age. So I went to the library recently and there was this book that had amazing reviews called How Not to Age by Dr. Michael Greger. And I started reading it and looking through it and researching it. And it is very small print and it's a very big book and there's a lot of concepts in there. So I thought I would give you some of these simple tools to learn how to improve your personal and family life without you having to do it yourself. You're welcome. I'm saving you a bunch of time and just giving you the tips on this book. I mentioned previously that I'm not just a therapist, but I'm also a personal trainer. So I'm interested in all things health and wellness, and I often go down that rabbit hole sometimes, and this was one of those things that I was curious about. If I find something that somebody recommends or find something in the library or online, I will often check it out. But before we go into that, just a quick reminder to check out our new blog on fulfillmenttherapy.org under blog. If you don't see it on your phone, check online. It should be there by now, but just in case, it is there. All right, so like I said, this book is by Dr. Michael Greger, and he's a well-known physician and author and speaker who focuses on public health issues especially. He's written several books, and he likes to include a lot of evidence, and if you've read this, you will know what I mean. Like I said, it's very small print and a long book. But he talks about how to slow the aging process to maintain that optimal health. And more specifically, he talks about the anti-aging research and how we can change our diet, to regulate the effects of aging. This book explains how aging does not have to lead to chronic illness, which is a good thing because that's definitely not what I want in my life, nor you, I'm sure. And it outlines different ways that we can interrupt that aging process through our dietary choices in a good way. He also goes really into technical things, but I'm just going to keep this pretty basic for the sake of our readers. Like, he gets really into compounds that I don't totally understand. So if you're interested in that, go check out the book. But the other thing that I really like about him is that he is also quite interested in studying centenarians and their lifestyles. And that has to do with blue zone regions, like I've talked about in the past. And these are just people that have lived over 100 that are some of the healthiest people out there, and just studying them to see what they do to live longer. So this book offers some practical evidence-based methods to maintain your youthfulness and longevity without expensive supplements or things like that. Okay, now that I've built it up enough, let me give you some of those takeaways from the book. What I found that was interesting, like I find with many of these books, is almost like therapy too. Again, we're looking for some earth-shattering thing, but these are actually pretty foundational things that we already know about and have a lot of research behind. So I feel like his book could have been summed up way more succinctly, but if you're really interested in all those studies and the science part behind it, then go ahead and check it out. But the foundational things are quite simple. So the first thing he talks about was obviously nutrition. This is a core message throughout his book, and he talks about the importance of whole food and a plant-based diet. And I know a lot of people kind of scoff at that because our culture is very much into meat, but he shares how that really does play a crucial role in how we age. He said, "The foods we eat may be our most important ally in fighting aging and chronic disease." So I, for one, am okay with doing way less meat if that means that I can age better without pain. And I'm kind of in that situation right now. Like I've mentioned that I gave up sugar. Well, now I'm even doing other things. Once you like take out one thing, it's like, oh, that wasn't so hard and I'm feeling better. It's like worth what you thought was a sacrifice, and instead it becomes something that you want to do because you feel better. So now I'm experimenting with even some other things. Like I don't have a lot of fried foods, but even minimizing that even more. Or I'm experimenting just a little bit with not having as much gluten in my diet because I think I'm gluten sensitive after I've done some research on that. And I know a lot of people think that, but there's little things to try and to become more intuitive about and just experiment, like what works best for you. So here's a tip according to what he said. As parents, we can start by incorporating more fruits and vegetables or legumes and whole grains into our family's diet. So try to make those small, gradual changes like adding a vegetable to every meal or swapping out that sugary snack for a piece of fruit instead. When we prioritize those plant-based meals or even more plant-based, we're not only setting a good example for our kids, but also providing them with the nutrients they need to grow and thrive. I often tell my kids about one of their friends. She grew up just eating pretty much meat and drinking Dr. Pepper, and she's so tiny. And who knows, maybe she would have been tiny forever. But I often think about that. Like, I tell them, if you don't want to grow taller or you don't care about being healthy, then don't worry about the produce. But if you want to be stronger, you want to have a good life, you want to grow taller, then you need those nutrients. So number 2, obviously, physical activity. Move more, age less. He talks about how regular exercise is critical in maintaining health and preventing those age-related illnesses and that decline. I've definitely noticed this as I've gotten older. Not so much by what I haven't done, but what I have done and comparing it to other people my age. Like I have been a big proponent of exercise since I was about 16 and have done so regularly. And for quite a while there, you couldn't really tell a difference between me and my peers that much, I felt. But in the last decade, it's become very pronounced. Most people my age seem to have a belly, or they just look older, or, there's just so many things that they're not moving as much or able to quickly jump up or any of these things. That has never been the case for me because I've exercised very regularly, and I see that for my clients as well. Dr. Greger says this: exercise is one of the most powerful tools we have to extend our lifespan and improve our quality of life. Again, we already know this. We know that diet and exercise is important, but it's just, with all of his studies, it's just a good reminder that, yeah, we know how important, and now we just have to do it. One tip that you can do is make physical activity a family affair. So schedule those regular family walks or those bike rides, that active time together, those games, and encourage your kids to participate in sports or other physical activities that they enjoy. I know that's very much a part of our family culture, but if it's not, it just takes that 1% incremental growth towards doing something that's a little more active than you might normally do. Another thing you can do is remove things, like remove screens or set time limits around screens. Even if they're going to complain, it's going to create those exponential dividends. So not only will this promote physical health, but it also strengthens those family bonds and creates lasting memories. And my family can attest to that. Are they really going to remember all those times they were on screens or that they were sedentary? Or are they going to remember those times when you were playing with them and moving with them? Obviously, it's moving. Try it out. Go ahead and ask them what's most memorable for them. And I guarantee you they're not going to say watching a movie, being on a screen, anything like that. Okay, the third one, again, unsurprising, sleep. So this is the unsung hero of health. Adequate sleep is really essential for both physical and mental health, as I'm sure you know, but it's often overlooked in our busy lives. Like we kind of minimize the importance of it. But he said, good sleep hygiene can dramatically improve your overall health and slow the aging process. I really tried to be more mindful of my sleep. I changed from an Apple Watch to a Fitbit, and this one, the battery doesn't die as much, so I'm able to keep it on at night and really get a better idea of the quality of my sleep. And I realized that I wasn't sleeping as long as I thought I was. Like my light sleep in the beginning and the end made it so the actual deep sleep time was not nearly as long as I thought. So I'm trying to improve that slowly but surely. So here's a tip. Establish a consistent sleep routine for your whole family. And this means not just when kids are little, but create that calming bedtime environment by reducing screens before bed, or like we do, you can unplug the internet, or maintain that cool, dark bedroom and stick to a regular schedule, even on the weekends. We do this as well. We're not quite as good as making our older kids do it. That is a little bit trickier when the culture does not make that as easy when they're off doing things more with sports and friends and things like that. But as far as the younger kids, we keep them on a routine that they like too. For example, my elementary kids, we typically put them in their room about 7:30, and we allow them to unwind by reading books. And they didn't always like books, but I've really put in a lot of effort to get them to enjoy reading by reading books that they like, that they pick out, by me reading to them, by doing summer reading programs with the prizes and talking about things that I'm reading and just really building that up until they develop a love of reading themselves. And eventually they get into this. That is a great way to get off of screens and to wind down before bed. Prioritizing sleep helps improve our mood and our concentration and our overall well-being. And this really makes it easier to handle the challenges of parenting. And my friends, we know there are a lot of challenges. Number 4, stress management. Also, this makes sense, right? We need to find the balance here. Chronic stress can accelerate the aging process and obviously leads to a lot of health issues. Dr. Greger talks about managing stress effectively, and this is what he says. Learning to manage stress is crucial for maintaining long-term health and preventing premature aging. So these are all very basic things he said. I took out all the technical stuff. If you want to have that long-term health and prevent premature aging, learn to manage your chronic stress or eliminate it. One way you can do this as a family is by practicing stress-reducing activities. This could be mindfulness as a family. This could be meditation. This could be open communication and talking about healthy ways to cope with stress, helping them understand what works for them and doing those things more often. Like sometimes we just tell them, okay, maybe or just go for a walk, just relax for a little bit, deep breathing, whatever it might be. And when we do these things, we create that supportive environment where everyone feels valued and understood and can really manage that stress in a more productive way. Number 5, also not surprising, social connections or the power of relationships. This is also very much linked to science and better health and longevity. And again, Dr. Greger explains it this way when talking about relationships. Cultivating meaningful relationships can have profound effects on our health and longevity. I feel like he's saying similar things to each one of these key components. That's essentially what his book is about, how we can break it down into just these key things to focus on in our lives to increase our longevity. So how can we do this as a family? Well, we can foster that family connection. That can be through family dinners or game nights or weekend outings. That can be encouraging our kids to invite friends over and maintain those close ties with them, or even with their cousins, people like that. This is where we build a supportive relationship with people we care about and enhance that family emotional well-being. And this, again, is how we create that sense of security and belonging and move up that pyramid in Maslow's hierarchy of needs towards greater fulfillment, because we cannot do that without security and love and belonging. So like I said, this book, even though it's thick and small font, when you condense it down to the basic things on how to improve your health and your longevity and how to age well, you can focus on a few key things like nutrition. Specifically, he talked about as much as you can doing that plant-based diet. That's physical activity. That's proper sleep, stress management, social connections. And as we focus on these things and just do that little 1%, just a little bit more, we can create a healthier, more fulfilling life for ourselves and for our loved ones. Thanks for tuning in today to this episode of Fulfillment Therapy to talk about how we can not age, which is kind of funny. We are going to age, but we're going to age well. And in many ways, the science shows we'll look younger under that microscope as we do these things and change that culture. If you found these tips to be helpful, be sure to check out Dr. Greger's book for more in-depth information and share this episode with a friend. Don't forget to implement 1% incremental growth towards improving your personal and family life with these simple steps that are shared today. Remember, James Clear talks about how if we do that, our lives will be 37% better by the end of the year. So those tiny micro adjustments do matter. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media for more tips and inspiration. All of that is in the show notes. Have a wonderful day, my friends, and I'll see you back here soon. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.